happening now with Gen Z and even millennials that, unlike previous generations, were turning more to God now than they did before. So that means, back to Christianity, Judaism. Everybody's saying enough is enough. We've seen what it's like without this. This is like a foreshadowing of the ingathering, I think. Right? When the nations will say, you know what? God is God. Israel is their people. You can't do this anymore.
Yeah. Interesting. Yep. Yep. We're living in the days when we're seeing the prophecies fulfilled for the end of days. The apocalypse, the revealing, is coming soon. And not the apocrypha from the apocalypse from the movies where they talk about it being a terrible time and stuff like that. Apocalypse means revealing.
So you don't have to worry. Nobody's going to say, I love the smell of napalm anymore.
Exactly. So.
Well, I don't know about that.
The zombie apocalypse is to be a revealing of zombies.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right. Anyway, so this week we have teruma contributions, and is the willingness of people to give. God isn't. He loves a cheerful giver. He doesn't want you to give if you don't want to give. And that's what people need to understand. It could be of their time. It could be of other things. It could be money. Could be different things. Helping out, keeping the synagogue clean or whatever. Just different things that go on, right? That we can do. But a cheerful giver, not somebody who doesn't. If you don't want to give, that's fine. You don't have to. Even if it's goat's hair. Yeah, one of the things on the even if it's goat's hair. I mean, really, yeah. You think about it. And so, God is calling Israel to make a contribution of these items He's going to need for building the tabernacle. Okay, and the tabernacle is unique in the way it's built. There's no other construction like it anywhere. That it was only given to Israel. It was given to Moses as he's seen it, but as we'll get into here the next, about the rest of the story, is that God took two young men that we'll read about later, who were young men, around 13, 14 years old, and gave them the knowledge and understanding to be able to teach and instruct in the building of all these things that needed to be done for the tabernacle. And we'll also see that they were to rest on the Sabbath, which gives us more understanding of what God is talking about when He says, do not work. Okay, and we'll get into that later too. And God describes what He wants, how He wants things built and how they are to be. And one of the big things we notice is that the stuff that is inside the tabernacle is of gold. The things on the first outside are bronze or silver, then bronze. Those type of way, because what it is from a less pure to a more pure. Where God is pure, that's why it says pure gold. So that's why gold is what's inside the tabernacle. Everything is gold in there, including the planks, and they're overlaid with gold, and they're made with sockets and stuff so they can come together. There's a place, I think, in Wisconsin that have a mock-up of the tabernacle. Which I got a hold of Beth Emanuel, but it's something that would be good during the summer when they have it open. You can see what the construction of it is like and what was used and the names of everything. Because everything had a name. It wasn't just a rope, a tie rope here. It had a name. The each one of the uh, um, huh pillars has a name, and I mean everything has a name, and it has a name for a reason. Um, everything. So it's really neat, and that if you actually go inside and see how the planks are put together, they look like one solid piece of gold, and with the menorah, which is shining down inside there, it makes everything glow. I mean,
Well, that's
very bright.
gold too.
Yeah, it helped with the brightness, shiny like mirrors. Um, so I mean, there's just a lot of neat things that are involved in the making of this. And the thing is that the people are involved. They're involved. The people who want, people aren't made to do this. If you don't want to give, you don't want to help, that's fine. You don't. God doesn't want you to. He doesn't want you to. He doesn't want somebody who doesn't want to help with it. Why?
Struck me today was the poles were to be left in the rings. That's where they were to stay. It occurred to me that that would keep them from becoming contaminated.
Mm-hmm. Right, and they talk about that in the tabernacle as well as in the temple, that the cherubim, they faced each other this way. The poles were on this side. It wasn't on the long side, it was on the short side. Okay? A lot of people kind of miss that. I always see people's drawings and stuff like that, and they always got them on the long side, but God had them on the short side, so that the poles also, as they were in there, would cause the drape to actually come out. So you always knew it was there. So that's one of the things they did. Yeah, and yeah, to keep them from becoming contaminated, for sure. And they were to be, the things that were inside the Holy of Holies were to be carried, right? And God even instructs them, that you not to put these on a wagon, not to be pulled by oxen, nothing like this, to be carried by the Levites. And I know we know the story when David was bringing the ark back to Jerusalem, that one of the priests who knew the proper way of bringing the ark to Jerusalem allowed them to put it on a cart pulled by an oxen, and as they're going over the road, remember, it began to become unsteady and almost fell off, and he reached out to steady it, and God killed him. Why? Because he didn't follow God's directions. I know a lot of people say, but he was just, it doesn't matter. God is a severe God. He is a God of love, but he is a severe God. When he says something, he means it.
Contaminating the ark.
Yeah. And it was
Unforgivable sin.
in disobedience, because he knew that that's not the way they should have done it. It wouldn't have happened if they had done it properly, and they wouldn't have had to delay them bringing it up, because they ended up bringing it over to another guy's house.
And the depth of it is just so deep, because it goes on, the disobedience. If you disobey and God does nothing, then the people see and then they disobey.
Mm-hmm.
If you delay, your enemies could come upon you and seize the ark
Yep.
and slaughter you.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. God said, don't delay justice. Kind of what we do in this country and other countries too, is we tend to delay justice.
And also that says take care too. So if a person is checking it, right, carrying it, you're always taking care that somebody is there with moral agency, unlike an oxen, which does not have moral agency. See what's going on.
Yeah. So the idea is obedience. If God puts it on your heart to give to some place, to someone, to ministry, whatever it might be, to the synagogue, whatever, you shouldn't delay in doing it. Give what you can. Now, like we know about Ananias and Sapphira, who they were good people, but they wanted to be really good in front of all the people, so they kept some of the money back, but yet they told Peter, Kepha, this is everything. This is everything we have. They lied. And God didn't delay justice because they lied. And it's not that God wanted, they kept it. They just say, hey, yeah, I'm giving you half of what I sold it for. Would have been fine. Or I'm giving you a quarter. It's still your stuff. It's yours. Do what you want with it. If you want to give a quarter of it, fine. But when they said that, yeah, this is everything. We're giving you everything to make themselves look so much holier than thou than the other people who were giving. That I've given all this. That's not what God wants. That's not a cheerful giver. And not only that, but they were trying to get something for themselves out of this, making people think, oh, they've given everything, but they haven't. So it's a lie. And in essence, that would be like taking God's name in vain. And so, of course, God had to do what he needed to do, and he did. So basically what I'm saying to everybody here is that God wants a cheerful giver. And whether you give to us or to other organizations or whatever, that's fine, I'm not asking you to give, although we could use the money to help with other things around here and stuff, but God provides. I'm not worried about that. But this is a blessing for you guys to give, a tithe, whatever it might be that you give. Make sure you give it to God and give it to what he wants you to give it to, God has provided us with a lot of stuff. With my job and my wife's job, we to do a lot of stuff. We do have some people that do give, and we always put it towards festivals coming up. We always make sure we have the food, dishes, all these things. We have all these things set up so that people can enjoy themselves. And looks like somebody's playing Xbox someplace. Keeps popping up here. Anyways, that's the whole thing, is to give. But give to who God wants you to give, Like, it doesn't have to be to us here. If you want, that's great. I do have a Venmo account for people who want to give. Goes right into the ministry bank account. But there's other organizations out there, especially those in Israel that are trying to take care of the poor and the orphans and the and stuff. There are organizations that do that. First, of soldiers have been killed and stuff. There's, just like in the United States, we have Wounded Warrior. Hey, that's a great place to give to. Tunnel to Towers is another one to give to. Taking care of our veterans. But there's other organizations out there too to help take care of the poor people here in the United States too, and other organizations. Another good one is Christians and Jews. That's another good one that helps, especially the Jews that are in Russia and stuff. I know that Mike Huckabee gives to that, and Michelle Bachman, she's a representative of that. Michelle Bachman, who's from here in Minnesota. And there's others too, Another good place to give is St. Jude's. Those are just a few of the places that are good to give money to, that help people, that they're not in it for profit, they're in it to help people, Although sometimes I wonder about the Red Cross. It too is a good place to give. They do help a lot of people, but sometimes, there's things that don't always look right with them. But like I said, you have to really look, pray about it, and who God wants you to give money to or help out with, what it might be, Oh yeah, Red Cross, they help the military come back, when there's a family emergency or whatever it is, they do that. I mean, like I said, there's organizations out there that are very good. Look into some of them though, because some of them there are ones out there that are just a scam. So you need to really take a close look at them and stuff. But to give, God wants a cheerful giver. We should be willing to give to whatever God wants us to, and not that we have to give $1 billion to it, but give what we can, you know. And God didn't ask, you know, when Yeshua was talking about the woman who gave everything she had, telling his disciples, his Talmudim to look, see what, you know, the rich were given in excess, but she gave everything she had. God isn't saying that you have to give everything, but the idea is to be a cheerful giver, okay? Not saying, oh, here I go again, I got to give a tithe, you know, and stuff, but that's not what God wants. God wants us to be cheerful in it. Giving to a tithe and to offerings, to for other things, you know, like sometimes we have guest speakers or guests that come here. We have a special offering for them for coming to visit with us, you know, to share with us and stuff, and that's good. That even there, it needs to be a cheerful giver, you know. Don't feel like you have to do it. And the people who were constructing the tabernacle weren't forced to do it. They volunteered. Okay? They volunteered. And when we take a look at the building of the temple, King Solomon used, in essence, what we would call today employees, company employees, but back then they were slaves. That's how they're living. You know, they weren't like today, like we were talking about last week, where it wasn't companies and businesses that put people to work. It was usually farmers and so forth that would put people to work, but they would be servants or in a sense slaves to them. So not that necessarily they owned them, but this is what I'm an employee of so and so, or I'm a slave of so and so. But we don't do that. We don't use the word slave. We use the word employee. But the thing is, unlike that back then, you could leave when you wanted, you know. And a lot of people too do that. I know a lot of people that have worked for me with the company I'm at that they don't like to do work. They just think they can come in and sit down and play on their phones, but when they're asked to do their job, then they quit. They're like, "Oh, you're harassing me," or whatever it might be, you know, and then they leave. We don't need people like that. It just shows that they're lazy and whatever else. But for the people who enjoy their job, you know, they're willing to do it. And so these people were volunteers. They were building the tabernacle. They weren't slaves. They were asked, people who came in to do it voluntarily did all these things. And it's a little bit different with the temple, but it was primarily the same thing, you know. And not only that, but there was so many of them that they divided out into 3 groups. One group would work for 2 months or 3 months, something like that, and the other group, and then they would come home, and they would actually get 2 months off, you know, but they were taken care of. Another group would work for 2 months and so forth and so on. That's how they did it in the building, in the constructing of the temple, you know. So they got time off to do whatever they needed to do, whatever it might be. But, you know, at least they got time off. And that's something that is unique to Israel too. God's instructions is that we get the time off. The slaves that we talk about here work 7th day, talking about when we read about the Sabbath and stuff, that not only you are resting, but your slaves or your employees are resting. Your animals are resting. Now, in the regard to like milking cows and stuff like that, you know, you take care of them. They got to be fed, so you got to do that. They like usually dairy cows, you got to milk them. You know, otherwise it's going to cause them pain and stuff like that. So those are things you got to do. Right? God knows that. And that's just like Yeshua was saying too, when he was healing on the Sabbath and stuff, and doing these type of things, helping other people, is that it is our job, even on the Sabbath, to help those that are in need when it comes down to it. Saving a person's life, you know. We don't know what might be going on. I mean, if they're moving out of their house and they want you to, you know, help them move on the Sabbath, that's between you and God. Because it depends on the need. I mean, if they could wait till Sunday to do it, do it. Yeah, I would do that. But I know some people aren't used to the 7th-day Sabbath in this country in a lot of places unless they're Jewish or Messianic, Messianic Jewish or Messianic Gentile. 7th-day Adventist?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they mean that's what I'm saying, 7th day Sabbath. Yeah. Yeah, they're not used to the seventh. Most people, when's the biggest shopping day of the week? Saturday, right?
That's the world thing,
Yeah,
the world is set up.
the way the world is set up, that especially in Christian countries, Sundays this happens. I mean, they have the Sunday laws, what they call the blue laws or something like that. In places, even here in Minnesota, you can't sell alcohol until after noon, anyways, on Sundays.
But we remember, what's the name of the spirit of the world? What is the Hebrew name? It's right?
Lot.
Lot is one of the translations of the ancient Hebrew root is spirit of the world.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
there's a green bull with it
Yeah.
arms stretched and looking into the heavens and kind of mocking God.
Oh yeah, and Ashtaroth and many others we could go with. Yeah. So all I'm getting at is that coming together, working together, they're going to build this beautiful place for God. And I know people that, why would God want us to build a place for Him? Why? Because it's the picture of what He wants to do. Sukkot is all about this. Sukkot, which means booth. Okay, sukkah, a booth, a dwelling place. Okay, God wants to dwell with His people. He dwelt with us in the Garden of Eden, right? Before the fall, He dwelt with us. Okay, and really, when we take a look at the Garden of Eden, we see it's set up kind of like the tabernacle or the temple. He lived on the higher part. I mean, that's what He. But we had the rest of it that we took care of. Ate of the fruit of the trees. Ate of the green vegetables and stuff like that. We didn't eat meat. We didn't need to eat meat because that's death, right? But God gave us the seed-bearing plants and the fruit trees and the other vegetables and stuff that we can eat. Roots like carrots and potatoes, different things like that. And so God again wants to, just like when we put a mezuzah up on our door, a mezuzah, which means doorpost, is just a representation of the commandment that God said to write the Torah on our doorposts, right? It's a representation, symbolic. And so even the tabernacle here was symbolic of what God's future plan is to dwell with His people here on earth. That's what the tabernacle was about. They lived in tents. Guess what? God lived in a tent, And that's what David, when he realized that he was living in this nice mansion or whatever, he realized looking out and seeing the tabernacle, that God's dwelling in a tent. He's like, here I'm dwelling in this place, and God's living in a tent still. We need to do something. Maybe we need to make a house for God. Okay, and that's why it's called the house. The house. The temple was called the house. And he designed it. He came up with all this stuff, but God said, you won't build it. But your son will. Okay? Son, who was his son? Shlomo. Comes from the word shalom, peace. He was the Prince of Peace. And just like Moses couldn't enter into the land, Joshua did. Right? Who is God is my salvation. Right? And Shlomo is the Prince of Peace. And when Shlomo came into power, all his days Israel lived in peace. Built the temple, replaced the tabernacle, built it out of great things. God had a great house. I don't remember how many years it took him to build, but the thing is that he did build it. I'm not going to go into the other ones he built for his wives because that's not what we're talking about. He kind of fell under that part. But anyways, the thing is that he was the Prince of Peace, who is a picture of the Messiah. Because when Yeshua comes back, just as it talks about in the prophets and stuff, he's coming to gather his people, the Jewish people from all over the world, from the four corners of the earth, and those Gentiles who have taken hold of Israel, taken hold of Yeshua, who is the living Torah, who is the seat, reminds us of God's instructions, which reminds us of the 613 commandments that God gave Torah. with the issue of blood, she grabbed it, was healed, and Yeshua felt it, and knew about it. You know, he felt it. Who touched me? You know, I mean, all these other people are touching him, but the thing is, it was her faith in God, her faith in God's instruction, the Torah, and in Yeshua. Torah observant Jewish rabbi. She was healed, and so it's the same thing that when Yeshua comes and gathers us, we're going not up to heaven. We're not made to dwell in heaven. We're coming back. We're going up in the air, but we're going to Jerusalem, going to Israel. And at that point, Yeshua is going to have us help in the rebuilding of the temple. And he's going to get the temple going, get the services going with the Levitical priests and the descendants of Aaron, the Levites and all them. The sacrifices will be going again. And then at that point is when he will gather his army, which we'll be a part of. And then we will go to the rest of the world and conquer the nations. And it goes on to say, too, in the prophets that in that day, the nations that survive, that's what it says, it actually says, the nations that survive will go up every year to Jerusalem for Sukkot and bring their offerings. And that's why Sukkot is also a festival for the nations, because its main reflection is the nations. And that's why it's also an 8-day long festival. This day, because 8 is the number for renewal, or what is it? New beginnings. There we are. So with Yeshua, the 7th day, the 1,000-year reign of the Messiah is the 7th day. At the end of that time will come the 8th day, which will be the renewed heavens and renewed earth into the way God originally had it, like the Garden of Eden, and will be part of the world to come. Okay, and that's when the new covenant itself will then be in full bloom, will be full in power. Right now, even up until the end of the 1,000 year, what we have right now is what we'll be under for that period. But it's not until the 8th day that we then move on to what the new covenant is, that no man will need to teach anybody about God, because everybody's going to know, and that God is going to change our DNA to have his Torah written in our hearts and on our minds, that sin will no longer be a part of who we are, whereas like right now it's part of our DNA, it's part of who we are. But that's why we're going to be changed. That's why Rav Shaul talks about our bodies being changed in the twinkling of an eye, to putting off mortality and putting on immortality. Our bodies will be pure and holy and changed. No more sin, no more death. What was that you were going to say?
Oh, I'm just gonna kind of pose a question here. And so, do you think that the offerings from the nations will be their part in maintaining the new temple?
Probably. I wouldn't doubt it. They'll be, for whatever his needs, And like Yeshua said, there's always going to be poor, so we're always going to have the poor with us, so that'll be also helping to take care of the poor. You know? Huh? Yep. So, and I know there's groups and stuff like that that think they can take care of the poor, that they can get rid of poverty and stuff like that. But if it's not done in a godly way, then it becomes corrupt, as we've seen organizations become, especially governments that, even our own government, giving money to organizations that are supposed to be helping people, or countries that are taking the money and they're pocketing it, and the people aren't receiving the stuff they're supposed to, especially in Africa and stuff. The warlords take the money, or they take the food and they sell it for more guns and ammunition. That's why we need to be accountable with what we're giving and who we're giving it to. A lot of billions and billions of dollars have been wasted from our country giving to these organizations, and yet they still want to keep on giving.
Well, and that's that hyper left-wing ideology that favors Marxism, which wants people to be beholden to them rather than
Yeah,
to God.
yeah. It's the same old that we've seen in the Tanakh of the Gentile leaders saying that I'm God, I'm going to provide for you, so put away your other stuff. You just ask me, I'll give it to you, right? That's what the Democrats, that's what the government wants to do with their government. They want you to. That's why they're so fighting against religion and stuff, because they want you to put your faith in them. I like what Ronald Reagan said. He said the scariest words that you can ever hear are, "Hey, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you." And it's true. It's true. We're just finding that out, especially with FEMA now and the corruption that they've done.
I don't know. Hi, I'm Ed Gein, and I'm here to serve you. It's up next.
Huh? Oh. Yeah. So, but anyways, that's why we need to pray for our countries and stuff like that. But we need to be cheerful givers. You know, we need to help. You know, if we have the means, we should be helping. Especially if we're rich and stuff and we've got all this extra money laying around, not to give it away necessarily, but there's programs that can be started, jobs programs that can be done. There's many organizations that help train people to work and stuff, you know. It's kind of like the old saying that give a man a fish and he eats for a day. Teach a man to fish and he eats for a lifetime. You know, so if we just give them money, there's no incentive there. But if we teach them how to make money, how to earn money with work, then they're going to be able to do it on their own, right? I'm not saying always that everything is perfect. We know that's not. But the idea is that we help our fellow man.
Well, I'd like at least see that it's a part of, let's say, certain disabilities and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, no,
People who
it's
can't work or stuff like that,
vocational,
yep.
But having it right there in there, so if you have
Yep.
this program, okay, here, you go down there, we got vocational rehabilitation, right off the bat, you don't see that.
Yeah, no. And our Minnesota government wants to take away a lot of that funding again this year. I don't think it's going to pass because I don't think it's going to pass the Minnesota House because they're so dead even.
And even a lot of the DFL doesn't want that.
And there's a lot of the DFL that doesn't want it either. Yeah, exactly. But we got to pray about that because some of these people, they can't work. There's no way they can work, and so we're helping them by helping take care of them, helping them to feel positive about themselves and that they are worthy of living. Although I seen a thing on Facebook not that long ago about instituting euthanasia and stuff like that for people who are a strain on our government. And this was coming from a social site. So, yeah, they have been. Oh, yeah, and old people too. That once they reach retirement age, that should be it. That they're done. You know. So I mean, there is a movement out there about that. Yeah, it's got to, but that's totally wrong. We need to understand that. But like I'm saying, is that we need to be a cheerful giver for God, whatever it might be. You know, and I'm not saying it's just money. There's other things that we can do that God asks us to do. You know, like you know, giving people a ride to go shopping or those type of things. I mean, there's countless things that we can do out there that doesn't have to necessarily be giving money, right? But sometimes it is, especially in society today. That is important for bills to be paid, stuff like that. I know there's people that I've in the past have helped pay rent, helped pay utilities and stuff, so they didn't lose their house or lose where they live or lose heat for the winter and stuff, you know. And that's the thing is, don't expect it to back. That's the thing, you know. If we give it, that's it. Don't expect people to pay stuff back, okay? If we give it, if they want to pay it back, that's fine, okay? But don't put that on them.
Never give money that you don't have.
Yeah, and don't give money you don't have. That's true.
Because then you start to expect it. And
Yep, exactly. Because when you do give money you don't have, then yeah, you do start to expect, hey, I need it now, you know, and stuff. But I mean, the thing is that we should be willing to help each other, and that's kind of what the believers did together, living in society. They helped each other out. I mean, I I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, they didn't even work. You know, they just lived off the." No, that's not true. They worked. They helped each other out, but they had their jobs. They had their lives that they did, farming, whatever else. But they helped the community. You know, they helped the community, especially those outside of Israel. The Jewish community and stuff outside, they would send money or whatever was needed back to the land of Israel to help take care of the people in Israel, especially when that famine took place during the time of Peter and them and stuff too. You know, and Paul was collecting funds to help give relief for the famine that was taking place there. So especially, you know, helping Israel out is a blessing, because remember, God says, I will curse him who curses you, but I will bless those who bless you. And so it's important that we understand that. Not that we're out trying to get the blessing, but when we do what's right. When we obey God, there's a blessing. When we disobey God, the opposite effect is cursing, or we're not going to get anything, right? That's where Einstein got his theory. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? Something like that. How'd it go? Something like that.
Yeah, that's
Newton's law. Yeah, but Einstein took it a bit further in that. But yeah.
Well, right.
Yeah.
That relativism.
Relativism. Yeah.
Yeah, relativism. So that what I always like to point to is that that's a perfect example of how there has to be a God in the universe, because you cannot see everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
The way I like to think of it is that always somebody pays, and a perfect example of that is
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he gave his all. Yeah. So, all right. So, so as we go this week, you know, just think about it. Where does God want us to help with? You know, who to help with? There's always somebody around. But also, God's given us common sense too. You know, we need to be smart about it too. You know, I mean, you just don't pick somebody up that you don't know to give a ride to, because you don't know that, because there's been people that are bad people, you know. So I just rely on the Spirit. When I've given lots of people rides and I've been fine, but there's times where I've seen people on the road and the Spirit in me is like, nope, you know, don't stop for them, you know. And it's probably been a good thing. So, but so think about it, you know, just be a cheerful giver. Give a cheerful giver to God of your time, of whatever else needs to be done, whatever God calls you to do. We need to be cheerful in it. Rejoice. God's given us an opportunity. Like I was telling you too, in Judaism, if you see an opportunity to do good, you're commanded to run to do it if you're able. Okay? And that's what we should look at too. If we see an opportunity to do good, help somebody out, and we're able to, we should do it. Okay? We should do it. And like I said, I've helped a lot of people, but I've also tried to help other people, and sometimes you got to use common sense, because they keep coming back doing the same thing that got them there and not learning from it. So sometimes we just have to say no. But that's why we need to pray about it, and you know, but be willing to be like Abraham. You know, he's our big example. That's what Yeshua was talking about too, is that, you know, he gave him himself to strangers. He invited the strangers in and gave them food and washed their feet, stuff like that, and taught them about God. And so he made thousands of souls. In a sense, he made thousands of souls worthy for God's kingdom. You know, and so that's what we're doing, is being a witness for God. People are going to see that, and they're going to go, there's something different about them. They're good. I got to find out more about what the difference is, you know. So as we go this week, you know, think about it. You know, I love my job that I have, because I'm able to take care of people. I love making sure that they're being taken care of, that they got the right meds, they got the right doctors, they got the right people taking care of them, not just somebody who's there just to get a paycheck, but somebody who's there to actually take care of them, who becomes a friend with them, plays games with them, takes them out to eat, whatever, you know. And that's just one of the things I really like about it, because I like to do that too with them. Go do things, play games, make sure they're taken care of. You know, and that includes even their guardians. Make sure their guardians are doing their job too, because there is a lot of guardians out there that don't do their job, and case managers too. You know, and so I've had to call them out on the floor, and doesn't make them happy, and they go to my boss, and my boss's boss, and so forth. But my concern is my individuals that I have. And if I see that they're not being taken care of right by whoever, that's my job to call them out and to fight for them. You know, so that's what we should be too. You know, that we see it, and we are able to, we should do it. Okay. So, all right. So we'll now do the priestly blessing. Our God and God of our fathers, bless us with the threefold blessing in the Torah, written by the hand of Moses, your servant, and pronounced by Aharon and his sons, the priests, your holy people, as it is said. May the Lord bless you and protect you. Maybe you will. May the Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. Maybe you will. May the Lord turn his face towards you and grant you peace. Yevarecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha. Shalom. Go and have a great rest of Sabbath. Have a great week this week. Tuesday night at 7 we have our Torah Club. Wednesday night we have our Wednesday night study, and of course every Shabbat at 10 a.m. Shabbat services. We do have Purim coming up. Looking at, I think it's Thursday night the 13th. I'll get it on Facebook and email it to people as well for our Purim party. And then next month in April, I think Passover starts on Saturday night the 12th. And then I think on Sunday night the 13th we'll do our community Passover Seder. So, because I know the following weekend is Easter. So a lot of people, there are people that go to that stuff, but we'll try and do it on the Sunday night. The first night will be the second night. So other than that, thank you. There on the internet and in Africa and other places too. Thank you. So Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat 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 Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat 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 Shalom. Shabbat 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 Shalom. Shabbat 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 Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat 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 Shalom. Good Shabbos.